Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. And I've got a show today that I think will be of interest to anybody who struggles with food and weight. If that's you, welcome. If you're here at the Heal Your Hunger Show for the first time, if you're snooping around and you're like, what is this all about? I want to say this is about getting off the diet track. This is about stopping with the quick fixes. This is about learning how to love yourself and losing weight from the inside out instead of from the outside in, because when we do it from the outside in, it doesn't last. Have you noticed? So 98% of all diets fail because I believe it's really on account of emotional eating. You know, when we have an emotional connection with food, you can take away my ooey gooey chewy foods, the ones with the sugar, the fat, and the starch, my three favorite food groups, by the way. You can take those away, but I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm not going to be happy. And I'm going to want those foods really soon. And the craving is going to get so intense. I will be crawling the walls. I'll be super bitchy. And I'll be like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Screw it. And I'm going to blow it. If that's your history with diets, well, guess what? It doesn't have to be that way. There's a whole nother way to do the weight loss game. And that is by sustainable changes in how you live and how you feel, how you think, and just your whole perspective towards yourself and towards your life. Doesn't that sound nice? The good news about the way the Heal Your Hunger process works is that it impacts all your life. Like every part of your life is positively affected when you lose weight from the inside out, when you start to love yourself and you make choices that don't feel hard and grueling, but actually feel self-caring and self-loving. That's how we lose weight from the inside out. So if that's interesting to you, if you're like, I've had enough of the diet roller coaster ride, then definitely stick around. We'd love to have you here with the Heal Your Hunger family. And you can actually join us in the Secret Sauce group, which is a great place to start. It's a good place to get connected with other emotional eaters, learn some great information, get supported. And again, you know, be headed on a different track around weight loss that does not include crazy diets or impossible exercise programs. So you can go to Facebook and type in the secret sauce to end emotional eating, and we'll see you there. Also, if emotional eating is a new term for you and you're like, not sure if that applies, go to my website, healyourhunger.com, HEAL, healyourhunger.com, just like the show, and take the quiz. It's a free quiz and it'll tell you exactly where you stand on the emotional eating spectrum. Are you an emotional eater? Are you a food addict? Are you somewhere in between? Take the quiz, get a personalized score, and then you know. So on with the show, I am talking about something really important today. Hello. I am so excited to be here and talk to you a little bit about a topic that I think is super important. And hardly anyone in the world, if you have struggles with food and weight, hardly anybody could not relate. So here's the deal. There's a lot going on in this world. There's always something going on, right? And a client of mine recently asked, what do you do with hard things that trigger us, or hard news or hard times that trigger us? And right now we're in it, right? There's hard times happening. We have markets that are kind of going south, and we have a war happening across the globe. We have new decisions being made in the Supreme Court. There's all kinds of stuff happening that may be triggering you. And if that's the case, you might be using food to deal with it. So that's what I want to talk about here. It's such an important topic because life is going to keep happening. Life's going to keep happening. Events are going to keep happening. We're going to keep getting triggered, right? And as emotional eaters, we're emotional. So chances are we're going to get super triggered. But what I want to do is talk to you about this, because if we eat every time we're triggered, you know, we're kind of in trouble, and sustainable weight loss is out of reach. So let me talk to you about this, because By the grace of God, I teach people a system for overcoming emotional eating. What that means is a system by which it doesn't matter what's happening in the world, you're not eating over it. Doesn't that sound amazing? So I'm going to talk to you about this because I'm somebody who used to be incredibly triggered. I'm somebody who used to get really pissed off about events in the world that I thought were unjust and unfair. Food was always by my side. No matter what was going on, food was always on my side, not on my side, by my side. There's a difference. And so it was really important on my journey of recovery from emotional eating. It was really important that I find my center. I find a place of equilibrium where it doesn't matter what's happening. I'm not eating over it. And if that sounds attractive to you, guess what? Good news. I'm going to share about it right now. Now, I will say, if I had $1 or 50 cents for every time I heard in 2020, I was doing great until the pandemic happened. Okay. In 2020, it was a pandemic. Today it's something else. It's always going to be something. And if we get thrown every time it's something that's unsettling, disturbing, upsetting, scary, turn my world upside down, we're never going to reach our weight loss goals because we're always going to be eating, and that's emotionally eating. If you eat over upsetting events, if you experience highs and lows in your emotional state and you eat to modulate, your emotions and kind of even you out, that's emotional eating. If you feel obsessed with food all the time, and you're constantly thinking, what can I eat next? Chances are it's for emotional reasons. You're feeling the need to comfort yourself emotionally with food. If you're a comfort eater, that's another word for emotional eater. So if you don't know if you're an emotional eater, obviously, I've said it before, take the quiz, go to healyourhunger.com, take the free quiz and find out. But what I want to do is talk to you about how to not get thrown no matter what's going on. So the deal is life's going to keep happening. You can't protect yourself from life happening. So what we have to do is we have to find a way to not get thrown by it, to not get bowled over by life's events. Now, my clients know more than anybody that, there's a process for getting emotionally centered. And if you've been on any webinar that I've done or read my book, you know about the 6 self-care success secrets. And what this is these are different tools you can use to get balanced emotionally. It's vital that we learn how to get balanced emotionally. A diet's not going to do that for us. The reason why 98% of all diets fail is because diets don't give us ways to deal with our emotions in a healthy way. Food was how we dealt with our emotions. So if you don't have a plan for getting emotionally centered, for finding your center when things get really scary in the world, guess what? You're going to be at the mercy of your emotions and you're going to be looking for comfort food. So start your day off by getting still and quiet and centered. It's the best thing you can possibly do. If that's hard for you, if you're somebody who overdoes all the time, my experience is that emotional eaters, overeaters are overdoers and we stay on the go all the time. That makes us more vulnerable to being tipped over by bad news or troubling events because we aren't tending to our emotions. We're not finding our center. We're running so hard and so fast and we're eating at the same pace, grabbing food, snacking, eating on the run, eating in the car. Our eating is just as chaotic as our emotions. And that ends up making us gain weight, okay, or not able to lose weight. So we have to find our center. Start your day with some kind of centering routine, meditation, prayer, reading spiritual literature, taking a walk in nature, yoga, breathing, EFT, chanting, whatever does it for you, whatever helps you feel centered, but start your day that way. My experience is if I don't meditate first thing in the morning, it's really hard to do it. When first thing in the morning is the best time to start, some kind of centering practice because you're sort of half asleep still. You haven't totally woken up and it's easier. It's just easier to sit in bed and get centered. If you start answering your phone or texting or doing Wordle. That's my new thing. Guess what? Your brain waves are going faster. You're thinking a lot, and it's going to be hard to settle down and get centered. So start with a centering practice. Okay, that's going to be super beneficial throughout the day. My experience is, if I put money in my spiritual bank account first thing in the morning, if I make deposits by doing spiritual readings, by affirming that all is well, I am in a state of well-being, which is a really important thing to focus on. If I don't start my day that way, it's going to be hard to get to that place. So I put money in my spiritual bank account by affirming positive thoughts, positive affirmations, connecting with spirit first thing, with meditation and prayer. All that helps me come back to my center when I feel a little off kilter. Okay. And it's going to happen. Life's going to happen. Even if there aren't big events or big things happening in the world, little events like at work, somebody gives you a big project that you don't have time to complete, or somebody gets fired, or you feel afraid of getting fired. There's a million things that could happen that make you feel unsettled, not at ease, insecure, upset, whatever. If you have spent time in the morning finding your source, finding your core self, your higher self, your divine self. There's many names for it. If you start your day that way, you can go back to that place. That's what I mean by putting money in your spiritual bank account. You've made deposits. You can make withdrawals later when you most need it. Okay, so that's number one. That's vital. Another thing I want to share about is that finding emotional balance, being angry, let me put it this way, being angry, being upset, being pissed off, feeling, getting really jazzed about, injustices in the world comes at a cost. Okay. It comes at a cost. And I personally, because I wanted emotional balance, I wanted to not emotionally eat or fight food anymore. That doesn't just happen. Okay. I'm just gonna level with you. It doesn't just happen. We have to pay into that. We have to make changes in our life. You can't have it all. My experience is I had to make changes. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So what that means is I had to take a good look at where being pissed off, angry, feeling like I'd been wronged, dwelling on injustices, where that got me. It didn't help matters. Okay. It didn't help when I was all worked up over, things that I thought were unfair. So I have to watch that. I have to watch my emotional state, because if I'm in turmoil, if I've got a lot of really toxic emotions coursing through my body, I'm more likely to overeat, because a lot of my eating used to be to stuff anger. And a lot of my overeating used to be punishment as well. Now, if you've been around any time around my work, you know about PEP. We eat for a painkiller to kill painful feelings. We eat as an escape to escape our minds when we're awfulizing or feeling afraid or scaring ourselves with anxiety and anxious thoughts. And we eat for punishment when we feel guilty, when we feel bad about ourselves. These are underlying motivators around why we eat, why we snack, why we sabotage our weight loss goals. So my experience is when I'm angry, feeling angry feels great in the moment. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I love being pissed off, but there's a certain payoff from being righteous about something, being like, they're wrong. They did me wrong. Screw them. This is unfair. There's a certain high that we get from that, right? Self-righteous anger. It feels good in the moment. It's like, I'm right. They're wrong. So that's fine, but it comes with a price. And my experience is, in my years of not overeating, being blessed with freedom from emotional eating, I've gotten super sensitive, so that even though there's a short-term payoff to being righteously angry and having a perfectly good reason for it, right? That's what I mean by self-righteous anger. It's like on paper, it's like, yeah, you should be angry. You have a right to be angry. but it comes with a price, because no matter how justified I feel, having those toxic emotions and getting angry, I become very sensitive to that, and it doesn't feel good later. I get a hangover, like an emotional hangover, when I've been angry, especially when I'm justified, right? But whatever the reason, or even when we lash out at somebody and didn't mean to, and it wasn't right, regardless, we feel bad, and I can't afford to feel bad. I can't afford to be a bitch because I feel bad about myself, and that'll cause me to punish myself with food. It's subconscious. I don't ever pick up, a piece of sugar, candy, donut, whatever, and say, I'm going to sabotage myself right now. No, it's very subtle. It comes with a craving for a donut or candy or whatever. But that craving, there's a deeper cause for it. In my experience, oftentimes it's that emotional hangover. It's feeling bad about something that, some way that I've stepped out of line and haven't addressed. I used to never, I wasn't good at making amends for things. I wasn't good for fixing something. I if I pissed somebody off, I'd want to sort of dance, and I wouldn't address it directly. I sort of dance around it and hope that they weren't mad at me anymore. I'd sort of be manipulative, trying to get them to like me again, when it would have been so easy to say, I was wrong. What I said was wrong. Will you please forgive me? So being direct and addressing something when we've been wrong, great way to get over it fast, so you don't have to punish yourself with it. So anyway, point is, I can't afford this self-righteous anger. That's why I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news because news is geared to hook us with fear. Okay. Studies have been shown that the more news we watch, the more anxious we are. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be anxious, because anxiety feeds emotional eating. So really important that I don't watch the news. I don't, dwell on negative things, but I'm still aware. I'll read some, things here and there online just to know what's happening. That's really important, but I don't want to dwell on negativity. And if you're thinking, well, that's kind of irresponsible, it's really important that I do what I can where I can. So I believe in taking action. I believe in donating to causes where action is being carried out in ways that I believe are righteous. But I don't get in there myself because I don't want to get angry and I don't want to get riled up. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't volunteered at phone banks or marched, at times where I feel like a cause needs to be, highlighted in our world, in our country. But I pick those battles carefully so that I don't live in a state of anger. And I also focus on positivity in my life right here and right now. There are things happening in the world I know that are bad, or really bad, scary, dangerous, harmful to others. I do what I can in measured ways, but I don't live in the anger. Instead, I turn my focus to what in my world I can make a positive difference in. Okay. And so the best way I heard it put is stay in your own hula hoop. Or a friend from Texas says, tend to your own rat killing. I love that. That's such a Texas saying, isn't it? Tend to your own rat killing. So I do that by trying to make a positive impact on emotional eaters' lives. Women who are struggling with food and weight, I have a solution. So most of my work, most of my time is spent on solving people's emotional eating problems, and the other bigger problems in the world. I'll do what I can do. Usually involves donating money in places that I feel like are worthy causes. And I'll do other things as well here and there, but it's not where I live because I feel like other people are better qualified to get super riled up. Like, I leave it to other people. I've done all that. I've lived in anger, and I can't handle the emotional imbalance. And I don't want to put myself in a position of overeating by having those toxic emotions. So I do what I can do. But I don't live in that anger because that'll lead to overeating. And I will tell you right now, I'm not helping anybody if I'm in the food Okay. I don't help anybody by overeating, being miserable, being mad at myself, feeling bad about my weight, obsessing about my ass. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's nothing more enslaving for me personally than being enslaved to food. And so what I have to do is put first things first and make sure I'm living in a way that keeps me balanced around food, because then I'm able to have a positive impact on the world in whatever way I can, most of all with emotional eaters, because, as emotional eaters, we've lived in hell. We know what hell is like, binging, hating ourselves, trying to get rid of what we ate, sequestering ourselves from life because we don't want to be seen, being depressed, anxious, whatever, because we're self-conscious about our weight, insecure about our weight. There's a lot of manifestations, being unhealthy, having heart disease or diabetes or, high blood pressure because we're overeating. None of those things contribute to having a positive impact in our lives. So I have to take care of me first. I have to put my oxygen mask on first so that I can be a positive influence in other people's lives. So, it's amazing how my relationship with food affects everything in my life, everything, my personal relationships, how I show up in the world, my energy, my stamina, my ability to shine my light. I was never as dark as when I was binging, never as dark, got really dark for me. I don't know about you, but I never want to go back there. So I have to take care of my emotional state, which means not getting too angry, not getting too riled up, doing what I can, taking positive action without jumping into the soup of toxic emotions. The other thing I just want to say is, what we focus on grows. So, and that's one of the reasons why I don't watch the news. If I focus on all the terrible events in the world, that's where my mind's going to live, and that's going to have effects in my life and how I feel. And if I feel bad, I'm going to end up eating to try to make myself feel better. So what we focus on grows, and I want to focus on positive things. Again, not to be in denial about what's going on, but to focus on what I can do something about, and to think about things that will make me, feel good about the world I'm living in, well-being, having a sense of well-being. If I'm constantly focusing on doom and gloom and how everything's going to hell in a handbasket, that's what I'm going to be thinking. And that's going to scare me. And that's going to make me want to comfort myself with food. Do you see the connection here between our thoughts and our eating? There's such a direct connection. So, so these are some of the things I just wanted to share with you, just to get you thinking a little bit. Triggering events. I get being triggered. I'm not as triggered as I used to be anymore. I'm really not very triggered, to be honest. Sometimes I will be, I have maybe some relationship in my life that might be troubling or, triggering or whatever, but it doesn't last very long. And when I do get triggered, this is the last thing I'll share about. When I do get triggered, I have tools. One of the best things I can do when I'm triggered is write. Okay. So I write in my computer, I pull up a Word doc and just bang out some feelings. I do that often. I was on a plane the other day feeling crappy and I didn't know quite why. So I just started writing, and then I was able to offload some really negative feelings that I had. I wasn't totally conscious of them, but they were there. So I wrote them out, I dumped them, and then I felt better. So I find writing to be the most constructive things I can do with toxic emotions. So try that, and make sure it's in a document that nobody will see, or a journal nobody's going to access, but just unload that toxicity, unload those angry feelings, unload those feelings of injustice, get them out of your body. Don't store them, don't stuff them, don't spew them on other people. The most responsible thing I can do with my emotions is to write them out. My shorthand for freedom is to write about it, talk about it, and pray about it. So I'll talk with a close friend or my partner about something I'm feeling troubled by, but it helps to write about it first, so the heat is gone, and then I can talk and be more rational and have more perspective. If I'm running off at the mouth, without writing out my toxic emotions, I'm adding to the problem, not being a part of the solution. So anyway, I've thrown a lot of things at you right now. Here, I'm a little off the cuff, obviously, but I hope this is helpful. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm super happy to be here with you. I love popping into the Facebook group with some ideas that are swirling around in my head. And I hope it's been helpful for you. So sending you so much love. And if I don't pop in here before 4th of July weekend, have an awesome 4th of July weekend. Sending you so much love. Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.